Good morning. Here we are, June 1, 2021. I received something from my friend in Idaho. This is, I have no idea how it got into the internet, but this is what the man printed and it was published. He was a photographer who was hired to take an eighth grade class from Michigan to Washington to learn more about our history firsthand. He videotaped the whole thing. And this is what he wrote. On the last night of our trip, we stopped at the Iwo Jima Memorial. This memorial is the largest bronze statue in the world and depicts one of the most famous photographs in history, that of the 6 brave soldiers raising the American flag on the top of a rocky hill in the island of Iwo Jima, Japan, during World War II. Over 100 students and chaperones piled off the buses and headed toward the memorial. I noticed a solitary figure at the base of the statue, and as I got closer, he asked, "Where are you guys from?" I told him that we were from Wisconsin. He said, "Hey, cheesehead too. Gather around. Come, cheeseheads, I'll tell you a story." The man was James Bradley, who just happened to be in Washington, D.C. to speak to the memorial that following day. He was there that night to say good night to his dad, who had passed away. He was just about to leave when he saw the buses pull up. I videotaped him as he spoke to us and received his permission to share what he said from my videotape. It is the one thing to tour the incredible monuments in Washington, D.C., but it's quite another to get the kind of insight we received that night. When all had gathered around, he reverently began to speak. And here are his words. "My name is James Bradley. I'm from Antigua, Washington. My dad is on that statue. I wrote the book called Flags of Our Fathers. It's the story of the 6 boys you see behind me. 6 boys raised the flag. The first guy putting the pole in the ground is Harlan Block. Harlan was an all-state football player. He enlisted in the Marine Corps with all the senior members of his football team. They were off to play another type of game, a game called war, but it didn't turn out to be a game. Harlan, at the age of 21, died with his intestines in his hands. I don't say that to gross you out. I just say it because there are people who stand in front of this statue and talk about the glory of the war. You guys need to know that most of those boys on Iwo Jima were 17, 18, and 19 years old. And it's so hard that the ones who did make it home never even want to talk about it with their families." He pointed to the statue. He said, "This next guy, that's Rene Gagnon from New Hampshire. If you look at Rene's helmet if you look Rene's helmet off at the moment that his photo was taken, it looked in the webbing of that helmet. You'll find a photograph of his girlfriend, Rene, put there for protection because he was scared. He was 18 years old. It was just boys who won the Battle of Iwo Jima, boys, not men. The next guy, third guy in this tableau, is Sergeant Mike Strank from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Mike is my hero. He was the hero of all these guys. We called him the old man because he was so old. He was already 24. When Mike would motivate his boys in training camp, he didn't say, 'Let's go kill some Japanese' or 'Let's die for our country.' He knew he was talking to little boys. Instead, he would say, 'You do what I say. I'll get you home to your mothers.' The last guy on this statue is Ira Hayes, a Pima Indian from Arizona. Ira Hayes was one of them who walked off of Iwo Jima to live and appear in America. He went on to the White House with my dad. President Truman told him, "You're a hero." He told reporters, "How can I feel like a hero when 250 of my buddies hit the sand with me and only 27 of us walked off alive?" So, you take your class at school, 250 of you spending a year together having fun, doing everything together. Then all 250 of you hit the beach, but only 27 of you walk off alive. That was Ira Hayes. He had images of horror in his mind, and Ira Hayes carried the pain home with him, and eventually died dead drunk, face down, in a very shallow puddle at the age of 32, 10 years after this picture was taken. The next guy going around that statue is Franklin Sousley from Hilltop, Kentucky, a fun-loving hillbilly boy. His best friend, who is now 70, told me, "Yeah, we took 2 cows up on the porch of the Hilltop General Store, and then we strung wire across the stairs so the cows couldn't get down, and then we fed them Epsom salts. Those cows crapped all night." He said, yes, he was a fun-loving hillbilly boy. Franklin died on Iwo Jima at the age of 19. When the telegram came to tell his mother that he was dead, it went to the Hilltop General Store. A barefoot boy ran that telegram up to his mother's farm, and the neighbors could hear her scream all night and into the morning, and they lived a quarter of a mile away. The next guy, as we continue to go around the statue, is my dad, John Bradley from Antigo, Wisconsin, where I was raised. My dad lived until 1994, but he would never give interviews. When Walter Cronkite's producers on the New York Times would call, we were trained as little kids to say, "No, I'm sorry, my dad's not here. He's in Canada fishing." "No, there's no phone up there, sir." "No, we don't know when he's coming back." My dad never fished or even went to Canada. Usually he was sitting right there at the table eating his Campbell soup. But we had to tell the press that he was out fishing. He didn't want to talk to the press. You see, Ira Hayes, my dad didn't see, like Ira Hayes, my dad didn't see himself as a hero. Everyone thinks these guys are heroes because they're in the photo on a monument. My dad knew better. He was a medic. John Bradley from Wisconsin was a combat caregiver. On Iwo Jima, he probably held over 200 boys as they died. And when boys died on Iwo Jima, they writhed and screamed without any medication or help with the pain. When I was a little boy, my 3rd grade teacher told me my dad was a hero. And when I went home, told my dad that, he looked at me and he said, "I want you to always remember that the heroes of Iwo Jima are the guys who did not come back. Did not come back." So that's the story about 6 nice young boys. 3 died on Iwo Jima. 2 came back as national heroes. And overall, 7,000 boys died on Iwo Jima in the worst battle in the history of the Marine Corps. He said, "My voice is giving out, so I'll end here. Thank you for your time." Suddenly, the monument wasn't just an old piece of metal with a flag sticking out of the top. It came to life before our eyes with the heartfelt words of a son who did indeed have a father who was a hero. Maybe not a hero for the reasons most people would believe, but a hero nonetheless. One thing I learned while on tour with my 8th grade students in D.C. that it's not mentioned here, and is that if you look at the statue very closely and count the number of hands raising that flag, there are 13. When the man who made the statue was asked why are 13 hands on it, he simply said the 13th hand was the hand of God. A great story, worth your time. Please, pass it on. And that's what I get from my box of chocolates right here in my corner studio under the shadow of Kyle Field. Amen. Giggle and go, cowboy.